We're here to see this guy. Adam Mills is not only the head brewer here, but he also has a YouTube channel called Adam Makes Beer that gives you an inside look into the brewing industry. Today he's going to show us how to make an 18-barrel batch of IPA. Let's make some beer. Like any self-respecting beer geek, the thought of opening a brewery of my own has definitely crossed my mind. Spending your days coming up with award-winning recipes and hanging out in the taproom sounds pretty dreamy to me. So when I got the opportunity to join forces with a pro brewery, I jumped on it. Me and Meg packed my truck with as much shit as we could and headed east on perhaps the most boring road in America, Interstate 70. This 20-some hour drive is too much for one day, so after 12 hours of speeding down the highway, we stopped in St. Louis, visited Perennial and Side Project, and continued on the next day. Eventually, we made our way to the birthplace of the Son of Beast, Skyline Chili, and this beautiful brewery, Cartridge Brewing. Like all great beers, this one starts with good water. Every drop of water that goes into the beer first passes through a series of membranes and filters, and then certain ions and minerals are added to build a specific water profile, which changes depending on the style of beer you're making. Next, of course, we need some malt, and a whole lot of it. 1,200 pounds of grain passes through this grain mill, where the outer husk is cracked and the inner germ and endosperm is made available for the brewing process. The milled grains then travel up the grain elevator, mix with some of that filtered water, and hit the first big tank, which is called the mash tun. Inside the mash tun, a thick, soupy mix of grains and hot water are gently mixed together for about an hour, while enzymes naturally found in the grains convert starches into sugars. The resulting liquid is then pumped into the boil kettle, bringing with it all the newly formed sugars and leaving behind nothing but back-breaking labor and animal feed. This is about the time I thought this dream might just kill me. It starts out fine, but it never f***ing ends. Okay, honestly, this was pretty fun. And we were all just kind of talking about what breweries we'd been to recently, great beers we've had, and where we're going next. As I finished up, the sugary liquid we created was in the boil kettle, coming closer and closer to a boil. I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but we're brewing Cartridge's Sabat IPA, and for this recipe, all the hops are added after the boil. So with not much to do, we sampled some beers in the taproom and marveled at the beauty of this historic building. Apparently, this used to be home to the Peters Cartridge Company, which specialized in gunpowder and ammunition production and supplied military ammunition to multiple countries during both World Wars. Fast forward to 1994, the EPA began an investigation into possible contamination of the site, and in 2009, they formally declared the soil contaminated with copper, lead, mercury, boiler ash, and slag caused by the manufacturing of cartridges. In 2012, the site was designated as a Superfund cleanup site, which required all hazardous waste to be removed from the property prior to redevelopment and ended up costing around $5 million and taking nearly a month to complete. Pretty incredible story, and you can feel it in the bones of this building. Now, after a 60-minute boil, it's almost time to add some hops. But first, we need to drop the temperature in the kettle for a step called the whirlpool. Cold water is circulated through a jacket on the outside of the kettle, and at the same time, the sugary liquid destined to become beer is pulled from the bottom of the tank and pumped back into the top. This creates a stirring motion that helps everything cool down more efficiently. When the temperature reaches about 170 Fahrenheit or 77 Celsius, it's finally time to add some hops. This is a mix of regular hop pellets and the more concentrated Lupomax hop pellets, and quite frankly, this is the most hops I've ever held in my hands. Yeah, that's a ton of hops, and it's downhill from here, folks. After spinning for a bit, we cleared the lines of hops, dropped the temperature even further, and transferred to the fermenter where it will eventually receive a big fat dose of dry hops. The question is, did this brew day crush my dreams of going pro? And more importantly, how does this beer taste? Let's find out. Today was truly a one-of-a-kind experience, and to top it off, we're sampling this super fresh IPA poured by the head brewer himself. Big shout out to the whole Cartridge crew and especially the brewing team for showing us around. This beer is dangerously crushable at 7.9% with a super smooth body and an old school meets new school approach. It's piney, it's hazy, it's citrusy, and it finishes somewhat dry to keep you coming back for more. Adam, my dude, thanks for having us out, man. I learned so much. I made 2 videos, this one and another one comparing homebrewing and pro brewing, which you can watch right now. And guys, don't forget to subscribe to Adam Makes Beer. My name's Dan, this is Hops and Gnarly. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'll see you again soon.